Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Potter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday, even though it's not actually that warm here at the moment. It's not quite, super cold, so it doesn't really matter particularly. I'm on my coat right now, but it was sort of cold enough to not really to warrant a coat, and not just use the cardigan that I've got and such. It's that kind of chilly, really. That was it. So, sorry, just having to weave through people. I think I called the end of the school run or something, so... Well, not the end of the school run, I mean like the ending school walk back, you know what I mean. So yeah, it's been a slow week recently. I mean, yeah, there's not too much to report on any fronts particularly. I was hoping at this point to being able to report there was a new drama club episode that was filmed, but it appears that that Aiden is still very much affected by the first week and what happened during it. So yeah, I don't. It's interesting because I told him because I was waiting like all of Sunday basically for the call because he didn't mention a time, which is what he usually does, and then he messages me after I've like pinged him, announced it on the server for him and stuff, and then he says, oh, I'm not up to it, so I check in first, to make sure that something hasn't happened, like at his house or anything like that or whatever, stuff like that. That was not what happened. It was just still the effect from last week, which again makes me increasingly curious as to how that whole ordeal went down. Although now I realize actually that I forgot to watch Ghosty's perspective because Ghosty sent me that as a test viewing to see if everything was all right. I did the same in return, and it turns out my episode is good. It's operational, it's audible, all the stuff is in the right place. So yeah, but I forgot to check her because hers didn't process on the day, so it just kind of got left in the ether essentially. So yeah, but I think maybe that would give me more of an idea because, not to give away too much in the episode, but there's a particular point where Lester, my character, splits off from Chris, Aiden's character, and there's two separate groups and two separate viewings because we want to maintain the idea of like two different perspectives and make sure there's some sort of there's some sort of like some sort of difference that will warrant people watching both of our points of view. Because, otherwise, it's just essentially you're watching the same video again. Which, granted, has worked in the past sometimes. Some of the old, not to mention, this might be a bit of a sullying of the name right now, but yeah, to briefly go into the old Skydoes Minecraft videos, that was one of the things that I found out later was the thing that he and his friends actually did. They were all YouTubers, so they all had they all record their own perspective of the same videos, and some of the stuff they reported to each other, and some of the things you got to see from their perspectives actually was more as interesting. But yeah, because of the nature of Drama Club itself, that's not always exactly something you can really do because everyone's in the same room. It's not like there's a ever-evolving like map or something that's going on, things like that. So they can't really do that and rely on that, so we have different perspectives. But anyway, Ghosty actually managed to find a way for her perspective to really work, which was, well, I think it was a huge coincidence that her character at one point splits off from the main group and has to go into the other one. So she gets a little bit of both. So everyone has something slightly different. Because we didn't realize that Ghosty was going to film a perspective as well, so we didn't really account for that during the scripting. It just happened to work out in this instance. That is, again, except for Aiden, because apparently, again, I need to check that. I need to see. Also, Ghosty, be on the lookout. Aiden might ask you to edit the video for him. He doesn't want to go back into that place again. I know for myself, but I happen to have actually found a few other things, like the lost episode of Minecraft Adventures, which I don't know what happened to it really, but there was a particular like part that we built up to, you know, that we actually that Shorty and I were really keen to demonstrate. So yeah, I'm glad to report that that's all fine now. And yeah, actually watching some of the Minecraft Adventure stuff, comparing it to like how the scripted ones like went down on Aiden's perspective, and then, you know, just the sheer chaos and the banterous exchanges between myself and Shorty. And yeah, that still gives the same feel. I know that Shorty recorded, you know, some of her own perspectives as well. So yeah, plenty to look back on and think, okay, you know, once we inevitably decide to continue this, maybe it's something to actually go back to, maybe get Aiden a bit more motivated again. Or then again, the complaints, you know, about the Minecraft Adventures format that Aiden employed were towards Aiden rather than against him, which actually was somewhat of an icebreaker back when I first actually properly got to meet Ghosty. Because actually it was through Minecraft Adventures that somehow we came into contact. Then we both realized from Ghosty's email address. Oh wait, I actually shouldn't mention the specifics of that. But yeah. So with Ghosty's email address, we realized we had something major in common, and then, you know, we went from there essentially. So yeah, a bit of an interesting development there, because I mean, Aiden met Ghosty through Casting Call Club, and they didn't really talk too much except for, you know, being involved during like Minecraft stuff. Particularly, I think it was one of Aiden's old things from the Aidenverse that he was talking about. I forget which one. Most likely Hardpoint Family Farm, but it could have been anything like Other Worlds or, gosh, what was the other one? There was a third Aidenverse thing. I don't know. You know, Zinnios only knows and stuff. You know what I mean? Okay. So yeah, I do wonder, because yes, you know, at some point Ghosty actually plans to go over a few things with Aiden about improv, you know, on Sunday, should that have actually happened, which it didn't. But also I was going to extend that to like everybody getting to talk and have a say about, you know, what worked for them and what didn't, etc. You know, essentially doing what we did in secondary school. There was a thing that my secondary school did particularly. I don't know if this is like a national curriculum thing or something, or just like that particular school thought of this idea. But a lot of the time when we did any assignment or something, or, you know, we did self-evaluation where we had like WWW and EBI, so what went well and even better if. So yeah, showing of course that we can actually identify the stuff that we did right and the stuff that we would do better, you know, were we to repeat the assignment, which sometimes happened and sometimes didn't. But yes, it's actually kind of a good exercise. Once you're not forced to write it down and, like, you know, write down like a bunch of things or hit certain keywords to get the assessments. We were assessed on our own self-evaluation. Once it's a bit more like freehand and stuff, you know, it really is an effective technique. I'm not gonna lie. If only like just apply it in your mind. You know, it's essentially what I do all the time with stuff like Music Girl and such. You know, I look back on episodes and be like, okay, so this is something that actually, you know, resonated with the audience, or something that at the time I was able to do really well. And even better ifs, you know, as more time passes and I'm able to gauge more of an understanding of what to do next and such, or what I would have, you know, more editing techniques and things like that, then really that becomes you know, the major focus, and also a very easy thing to identify. But yeah, so I think we should do that at some point, you know. Do a sort of unofficial What Went Well Even Better If for Drama Club. You know, all of us, not just you know, Aiden or Ghosty or BB again. You know, it all depends. BB did say today that she doesn't have work, so actually all school. So it's potentially, so I'm just waiting for people to go past. I'll continue walking in a second. Brilliant. It always yeah, so I forgot what I was going to say now. I'm trying to identify the path of these traditions. Like, this is where the school has converged. I've entered the territory of the mob, essentially. Yeah, no, I completely missed it. Yeah, what am I if? Yeah, it would help. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, no. BB said is that since she doesn't have any of these other commitments, she wanted to do something today, YouTube related. So who knows? Maybe we'll just call a bit of a chat or something like that. I don't actually know. It's all up for debate because it is very much last minute. Need to cross again. Yes, it is.
Yeah, can I see?
Oh, right. Hello. Never mind. I'm going to stay on this side of the street. Clearly, that's got the appeal. All right. Hope it's not expecting too much excitement out of this, particularly because I'm talking about stuff that hasn't happened rather than the stuff that actually did this week. So, in that regard, stuff that actually did happen this week. What did happen is that I put the auditions out yesterday for the Music Girl Christmas special. You know, somewhat against my better judgment, because I know that I end up stressing every December, essentially, about some traditions I have, you know, like the Aphmau song, or insert, you know, like a Christmas-related video or something like that. Also, sometimes in December is when the time I want to really knuckle down and get some like other Music Girl stuff released, because actually, technically speaking, there've only been 2 official releases of Music Girl this year. Not official releases, I mean like actual, like, main episodes is what I meant to say. We were able to start season 3, which I'm extremely grateful for, because, like I say always, you know, having a huge gap between releases of the Music Girl, you know, it gets to me, because like that's the main show at the moment. I don't know, maybe if other stuff like Drama Club starts performing better on average and things, then, you know, maybe we'll see that in the future. In terms of Aiden, I think it already has. This is still episode 1, but his episode 1 of Drama Club has got like 250 views or something like that. So, yeah, very much a thing that he can actually say, okay, can contend with Fallen Angels. In my case, it's about like half the usual. So, for a musical episode, because mine was got significantly fewer views. So who knows? But yeah, if it starts to contend, because episode 1 is always the most viewed out of any series, except for unless something like major happens in a later one or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. So we'll find out essentially. But yeah, for now, that is very much Music Girl tends to I think around now, because I wanted to, you know, episode 2 has been quite slow because, you know, the editors have essentially not really responded. There's yet another swimming scene to actually do. I mean, Aiden and I had a discussion on stream, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, about like how he feels that sometimes I'll write stuff that is too complex to pull off. And it's not necessarily too complex to pull off. When I mentioned the dodgeball scene and how difficult that was, it wasn't an impossibility, thank you. It wasn't an impossibility, it was just very tedious. Oh, sorry, they were trying to feature in there. There you go, you're in frame now. Lovely. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so it was just a tedious thing to actually pull off. So it wasn't impossible by any means. Could I have made it simpler? Arguably yes, because there were a lot of characters in there, and actually there were more characters in that scene than there are ever supposed to be at any one point in a gacha video, because the character limit, prevents you from actually putting them on screen for too long. So in that regard, I'm really happy that it actually turned out the way that it did. Season 3 episode 1 is definitely the best episode of The Mutant Girl on a technical level. On a story level, maybe I'd say I still like season 2 episode 12 a bit more, just because that was, a lead up in like the only time I've actually built a decent mystery ever in my life. Not necessarily in terms of like the who did it, but how they did it, which I feel like I'm actually way better at writing. So I see a book series I was working on like a few years ago, where I don't really leave too many clues as to like who the actual person is that performed the things. It's more an exercise in like how it was actually done. How could this method actually come about and such. I don't know if that's a good format for a mystery, but in terms of with me, I think that one always works better, because I always second guess myself in terms of like, have I left enough clues for the suspect? Is the motivation actually solid? Have I deceived people too much? Maybe that's why I can't write a decent mystery sometimes. But yeah, in terms of Felix, he was framed as a twist you weren't supposed to get until later when you like look at everything back and everything. So yeah, in some regards it's a good mystery, because it requires a second viewing and such. I don't really know. That's my thoughts on that. I was about to cross the road, but there is no crossing. There is nothing on the other side. All right, I guess I'll just carry on here with more people, which is fair. So yeah, to wrap up, really. Let me take a selfie. Oh, thought they were running up towards me. Trying to follow up on the selfie comment. Whoops. Okay, what else was I saying? I'm gonna go around here. I don't quite know. Yeah, not really sure what I was getting at there. Oh, yeah, in terms of that, I know, even despite all the things there, in terms of my editing being complex and everything, a lot of the time it's because I lay out all the details and everything. Aiden is quite vague in his script directions, and when he sees a lot of text, he automatically assumes it's very complex. Sometimes I'm just outlining details, simple details, but in a complex manner, if that makes sense. Like he'll write, for example, this person, walks towards the crowd or something, or whereas I would be like, oh, this person walks towards the crowd in a particular manner, possibly trying to avoid eye contact, or I don't know, with a sense of urgency. Any of those situations, really, anything of that nature. It's not really a precise science, definitely. Okay, now I've realised that I am on the bike side, so I'm going to go over here. Right. Yeah, anything else? So yeah, that's why. So I end up getting stuck with a lot of my complex scenes from the past, especially with the Mutant Girl season 3 script, which we wrote ages and ages ago now. back in 2020 essentially. And we or was it 21? It was really 21 actually. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, but it was still a while ago. Again, we're almost done with 2022, so yeah, nearly 2 years. So it was definitely a while ago, and it was the time where I thought, okay, you know, I'm going to have more editors here, there'll be more adepts, I can be a bit more ambitious, which always backfires. It's like in Puppy Love, where back before Shorty realised how much she actually does still enjoy editing Gacha that she hasn't really scripted herself. It's interesting, but yeah, back then, I don't know, I was relying on her really for the actual details, really, and some of the more ambitious stuff, which kind of in a way forced me to adapt to my own style of writing and actually try to see how I could portray this stuff. Let's pick this scene with the sprinklers, and like there's where they have to run about them, and I didn't know how to do that yet, but it taught me green screen effects and stuff. The meet and go's always been that for me. It's always been the thing that teaches me other things in terms of editing, animating, whatever you want to call it, that I didn't know before. So in a way, it's still fulfilling its mission. This is the main road. I'm going to turn around now. Right after I end up going past the actual school, I am now forced to return. So yeah, we're about the end here. But as far as the Christmas special goes, I'm not being ambitious this time. I'm just going to do a storybook, essentially. You know, the kind of things where some animated specials where they'll have them like as pages of the book. I'll do it that way. Still getting the voice actors involved because, you know, how could I not? And some of them recorded their lines even 2 years ago, because this special has been in the works for a while. But yeah, I'm trying to do the least stressful thing I possibly can. If season 3 episode 2 doesn't come out this December, and if the Christmas special, which will hopefully be a bit easier, will. I will still try and, you know, wake up my editors and see if I can actually get them involved again. But yeah, that's it for now. So please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters, and subscribe if not already. And on that note, until next time, let me take a selfie, I guess.